So today we will learn about trend analysis. There are lots of options available in Excel to plot trend line in your chart, but there are few options which I'll talk about today. Okay, so before starting the tutorial, I want request to you all, if you are new at my channel, please do subscribe the channel, and if you like my video, press the like button and share it with your family and friends. Hello, my name is Mahima. I am MBA MSc In Stats. So today we will learn how we can fit trend line to our chart and what are the best fitted trend line for our data set. Okay. So trend analysis quantifies and explains trend and pattern in a noisy data over time. A trend is an upward or downward shift in a data set over time. As looking at this graph, you can see that the trend line is moving to the upward direction. It is very easy to add a trend line in Excel, but the real challenge is to choose the type of trend line that best suit the type of data you are analyzing. So today I'll talk about detailed description of all the trend line options available in Excel. So there are several basic trend curves that Excel can model, but today we will learn about linear, exponential, power, moving average and logarithmic. Okay, so first I'll discuss about linear trend line. When the data points in the chart resemble a straight line, it is best to use a linear trend line with a linear data set. A linear trend line describes a continuous rise or fall over time. As you can see by looking at this graph, all data points are continuous data points. Okay, so that linear trend line shows a steady increase in sales over 6 months at this graph. Okay, here R square value, that is 0.9855, indicates a pretty good fit of the estimated trend line values to the actual data. Okay. So what is the linear trend line equation? The equation for linear trend line is y equals to bx plus a. Here b and a is, b is the slope of a trend line and a is the y-intercept. So next I'll talk about exponential trend line. The exponential trend line is a curve that shows that the data values rise or fall at an increasing rate. So the line is usually more curved on one side. This type of trend line is commonly used in science. So if you want to visualize the growth of human population or the decline of wildlife population, you should use exponential trend line. Okay. So there is one thing which you need to keep in your mind, that you cannot create an exponential trend line for data that contains zero or negative values. Okay. I can give you a good example to plot exponential curve, that is decline of the entire wild tiger population on earth. So the equation for exponential trend line is y equals to a into e raised to the power bx. Okay, where a and b are calculated coefficient and e is the mathematical constant. Next, I'll talk about power trend line. The power trend line is very similar to the exponential curve, except that it has a more symmetrical R. It is usually used to plot measured values that increases at a certain rate. You cannot add a forced trend line to an Excel chart that contains zero or negative values. Okay. So if you want to draw power trend line can be used to visualize the chemical reaction rate, and it is a very good example of power trend line. Okay. So R square value of 0.9918 in this graph shows that our trend line fits the data almost perfectly. Okay. So the equation for power trend line is y equal to a into x raised to the power b, where a and b are constant. So next I'll talk about moving average trend line. When there are many fluctuations in the data point in your chart, as you can see looking at this chart, there are many fluctuations available in the data point. So in that case, the moving average trend line can smooth the extreme fluctuations of the data value, so it shows pattern very clearly. To do this, Excel will calculate the moving average of the number of periods you specify. In default, you can specify 2. Okay, and use these averages as the point in the row. The higher the period value, the smoother the line is. Okay, good example for moving average trend line is to reveal the stock price fluctuations Otherwise, it is very difficult to observe. Okay, so this is the graph for moving average trend line. So next I'll talk about logarithmic trend line. The logarithmic best fit line is usually used to plot data that quickly increases or decreases and then stabilizes. Can contain positive and negative values. An example of logarithmic trend line might be the inflation rate. The inflation rate first rises but stabilizes after a while. Okay, so the equation for logarithmic trend is y equal to a into log x plus b, where a and b are constant. So this is the logarithmic trend line curve. So in my next video, I'll talk about how you can plot these trend line in Excel and what are the function you can use in Excel to plot this trend line. Okay, so till then, keep learning and bye-bye.